If you are looking for FC25 coins as well as other game keys, currencies, gift cards, and more, check out u7buy.com. Doing so via the link in the description would really help me out. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This one's going to be a little different. I've got some replay analyses that I want to go through with you. This one's going to be partially a celebration of the podcast that I'm on, and partially a celebration of the fact that we've hit over 1,000 subscribers, which I'm over the moon about. I genuinely cannot believe. We're going to talk about that a little bit towards the end of the video, so do stick around for that. Now, the podcast celebration, I'm on a podcast called The Foot Show. That's with Different Stokes and AlexionIQ, both on Twitter, and they make some of their own content as well. We've got the podcast on Spotify and on iTunes. We've got a Discord for it. We've got a Twitter for it. And we're putting out content once every Monday and once every Thursday. Monday's a content pod, so like the SBCs and the promos that we're getting and all of that. And Thursday is a gameplay pod, so kind of what we're experimenting with in-game, how we're feeling about it, all that stuff. I'm very excited about it. It's been a phenomenal experience so far. I'm with two great other guys, and just a little bit of a plug there, but I wanted to also kind of analyze their two games. So I'll have that coming up here in this video, but also I want to extend this out to all of you as a subscriber special. We're going to be offering some replay analysis for you as well. So stick around for the end of the video if you're excited about that. Anything you need to know will be in the description of how to sign up for that, as well as my Discord. But yeah, absolutely. I hope you all enjoy. Once again, thank you all for the support that you've shown recently, and I'll catch you at the end of the video if you want to hear more about all that. Again, his and Steve's links will both be in the description, as well as the podcast we all do together, which, again, do highly recommend you checking out. It's been incredibly well received at the beginning of me joining on in, as I'm a little bit newer, but having a lot of fun over there. So again, we're going to take this a little slower at the beginning. We're not going to criticize like the immediate start to the match, just for, you know, getting a sense of the flow and how things are going to go here at the start. But he does have a full Liverpool team, I believe it is, or Liverpool past and present. So he's a little self-restricted in the players he's able to select in a way, but he tries to emulate a more realistic style. So I think you'll be able to see that here. We've got a ground-based game, trying to work the ball side to side. We've got a passing focus, which is a little different from my own content, or my own idea on the game. I'm very much face-up and dribble-focused, so I think it'll be nice to get a look at a game that's a little bit different from mine. So I've got a sense here. I didn't see anything to talk about immediately. Alex is a Elite Division player, if I'm not mistaken. Let's start it from here. So that's all okay. And we've got this great working side from side by side. Side to side, let's say. Because you can see here, like, why this works is when you're on one side of the field, so we're like slightly on this half, right? When you're on that side, the whole defensive line will shift over. So if you take a look at the mini map down there, you know, it's here to here, which means the shape is there and there. So we're looking at that bottom of the screen here. If you compare to the center circle, we've got, you know, a couple yards here and then barely any yards there. Point being, just they've shifted, I wouldn't say pretty heavily, but they've shifted a little bit down to the side. So the reason you look for switches like this is sometimes you can work the ball, like play it a little bit through pressure, encourage the opponents to come over and follow you on one side of the field, and of course that's going to open up gaps on the other side. So it's a great workaround to the other. And the reason, again, that space is open. Now it's actually additionally even more open because he stepped so far out with Konate that I think it prioritizes Trent there coming inside to guard Ian Rush, so there's even more of a gap there. This is all pretty well worked. I can't say that's what I would have gone for. I would most likely just, because if you see me chat, I'm barely ever here. I'm never here, so I never look for this. It's definitely a tool. It's an asset to have in your toolkit, or in your playstyle, but I never go for it. So what I'd be doing here is that. Try to get it back to Barnes, and I can either maybe dribble inside with him, get a pass across, you know, like that, or we just go back on here. You know, he's in I think that's Xabi Alonso. He's in a decent position at the back there. none of that's criticizing that that's not a good option to go with. It's just not what I would have seen. So that's a nice kind of bonus of some of the higher level gameplay, is you will see people do things that work out that aren't quote unquote what I'd recommend, so I'm not going to criticize that. That's a pass into a congested area, so I'm surprised that actually gets it past the defender, but that's all pretty well worked. Of course, the shot is too well defended from VVD to be too effective. If you have the chance to take one little touchdown here and maybe drag VVD out and then go and take that shot. But without knowing Ian Rush's dribbling stats, that's hard. And also Alex did send it over that, or did tell me that the gameplay today was pretty mudded. So he is playing through the, heavy, inconsistent gameplay here. So we'll try not to criticize the touches or the movement that heavily. So it's, again, I'm not trying to quote unquote criticize. The idea here is to say these are some other options, that you can go with that you might not have considered that are some effective plays. So he holds on. I believe that's all tech there. He holds on to that a lot longer than I would have. So you have this play immediately, right? This overlap. But as Mendy's body shape is going that way, then the passes, he's gonna make that run. The ball ends up about here. Mendy's gonna be about there, and that's maybe about there. Not quite as close, but closer to, he'll be goal side. So you're not gonna be in behind with a guaranteed chance. If you can do anything to have this run continue being made, but instead of Mendy's body shape facing this way, as he's able to get that way, if you can kill that body shape or just the momentum, so stop him dead there where he's not really going either way, or get him to commit going this way, then all of a sudden, instead of him being this close and able to still corral you and get goal side, he's now way back here as you get to the ball. So that's what I would go for here, is if you can just pull him back out. And Maicon actually, is that Maicon? I think so. He actually recognizes the offside pretty well here, and he stays on. So it wouldn't be as effective as with the through ball. But once, if you can recognize as soon as Mendy starts moving towards you, the time to dribble isn't as he's moving at you, ready to take the ball. The time to dribble isn't right now. It's the first move of when he starts moving there, or when he starts adjusting to come towards you there. If you can recognize that, then you've got the easy turnaround and get the ball to the overlap with much more open space. You can also consider just going back to Xabi Alonso. I mean, he's got over the top, or long ball, so you can just, play one of those, or you can build up your play from there. This is probably just the gameplay being a little too heavy for him to get out of tech there, but you also do kind of want to adapt your own gameplay when you're in mudded gameplay. You can't just quite do, or you can't be stuck doing the exact same thing you might in a clean game, let's say. Ooh. So this is all good. Opponent's really aggressive with the defense here. The existence of Trent stepping up, I think, is what makes the rest of the AI not defend so well, because VVD completely AI steps up. So any situation you can recognize that the opponents pulled themselves out of shape, well, the rest of the AI is probably not going to solve it for them, especially not immediately, so that's all fine. That's the AI doing it for the opponent, which is always really annoying. Besides that, the ball roll inside is not a bad call in most situations. This is a tackle that would never be made in past years, by the way. Just the AI tracking back and then doing it for you. But so you've got a couple options. You can keep on going just to the side and then maybe recognize at some point that it's the right spot to come back or cut back. Or you can try to just go back against VVD and see if you've got space there. Now, of course, both of those are less aggressive and lead you to a less immediate direct chance. So if you want the more direct opportunity, It's probably just not a ball roll. The ball roll is great to settle and finesse, but instead of the ball roll, which goes like this way, I might just keep, so let's show the comparison, kind of like that. I'd probably just do left stick and curve around a little bit more like that, because it's the existence of this little, let's say, hump in the line, is the existence of that buys enough time for VVD to get back. So if you just smooth that out a little bit, Ian Rush is at a greater speed that whole time, you might have a better opportunity to get that shot off. Now, of course, Kanate's coming across. We've got that to consider, but I think you'd be able to take that left stick and then react to how Kanate defends from there, with enough time in between to decide what you do after that, the left stick move instead. Okay. Say that's a little aggressive with the fullback without tracking the run back. You can always switch to the center back and just kind of move them over to the side to guard that. But the existence of, who is this? That's Alonso. The scary threat is if they do it immediately. But of course, the pass here is guarded well enough by the center back that this might be a completed pass, but it's not going to be like an incisive, get him behind, really dangerous one. And by the time it does become more incisive, when this run's been completed a little bit more, then you've got the pass blocked off. I would still be a little bit more scared of them just progressing down the field with that, doing the over the top immediately. Of course, they don't go for it, so it's a good thing you didn't bother defending with that, but I am surprised the opponent didn't go for that. Maybe you just got to read on the opponent that, like, everything else they've done is ground-based so far, so they're probably not likely to put it in the air. It's all good. Ooh, alright, Harvey. That looks like tech again. So where are we? There's a lot of space available for you on the field. The opponent is very spread out. Now, your players aren't very well connected, but also the existence of them being a little bit wider means that you've got more space in the center anyway. So that's all good, and that's actually a great, like a surprisingly well-completed dribble here from Harvey to get back inside Kanate. Probably can just go far post on the shot, of course. Yeah, VVD's not come over enough to block it, so you can go far post there. Now this is aggressive. You're basically saying, I want to accept getting into a spot to take a shot, or risk the chance of just losing possession completely. I normally don't like being that risky, but you can absolutely decide if that risk is worth it or not for yourself. Of course, it was in that situation. Sometimes it will come off. I'm a little bit more cautious with how I play, and I'm not saying that's a good thing. It's just more of what I'm doing. That's all very good until the pass. But so the existence of holding the ball, or the point, what this accomplishes is as the opponent pulls that center mid out of position even further away from the rest of their midfield line, that creates an even bigger gap. So we were talking about this with Steve. We're like, let's say he's in a, I don't know what you want to call this, like let's say you're like 7 yards away from the fullback and 6 from here and 6 from there, and like he's in a good gap there. But as you pull that center mid even further away, well, now instead of being like 6, 6, and 7, he's like 7 and 8 and 7 or something like that. There's just a little bit more space there. So as you work it back to him, that'd be a great space for him to be in. You've created an even bigger pocket with the existence of just going back and encouraging the opponent to control that center mid and just pull them even further away from the midfield line as they're just stepping up there. But Harvey Elliott just ends up running away from you. This is probably an L1 triggered run, and you probably just have to tap R1 on him again. Now, this is also a little greedy. This normally isn't a pass that's going to be completed, I think. But you do have Rush, who's just kind of sitting there. I think you'd be able to make that pass. Or just tap R1 on Elliott again, call him back short. Great interception. It's all good. You're operating. Yeah, you're operating in a lot of space in the midfield there. Now, Salah, 3-star weak foot. Over the top's probably not the strongest. It's fine to go for that. I think a stronger passer in that situation would have completed that pass, but it's fine to take that risk. Just ends up not working out for you. And now you're dragged way out of position. So the scary thing will be in transition here. Let's see how this is handled. I don't mind that. I don't mind that. Ooh. Me. Nice throw in. Maybe not handled quite aggressively enough. So this is all fine. Because you're basically telling the opponent, yeah, you know what? You can have the ball. That's all fine. The only dangerous thing you've got here is here. By the time the opponent actually dribbles in here, like, you'd be able to meet them at that point anyway. And what can you do in this position? Like, you give the opponent space here because of course you do. There's no threat. Where if you pull your center back out here, all of a sudden there's a much bigger gap for the striker to exist, and we've got like this space instead of just that space, right? So this is exactly how this should be defended. Ooh. Except the jockey made you slow down a little bit too much. So you can either, because there's literally no other threat in the center there, it's only Eto'o. You can swap to VVD and pull him across and just say, hey, I'm going to get him there. Now we'll be able to double team him instead of only like one-on-one or one-on-one, depending on how the situation goes. I'd drag him over and just take that, take the 2-on-1 instead. Or you just have to go in this situation, you know what, the through ball is a little bit more dangerous. This is a run that's being made, so I only have to guard the through ball. It's not like the AI is going to fake the run on you, right? Or you just drop back, you know, drop back, guard that run with him, and say, you know what, I'm going to guard here now. If this run, like, by the time this run stops being made, a couple seconds in the future, if they drop back, then I'll just accept defending from that situation. This one, a little risky there. Alright, so... Oh, I don't know how I feel about this one, Alex. Maybe this is some Liverpool real-life play recreation where VVD can play that, you know, on the volley off of a Robbo throw IRL, but... I think you just anticipate, like, that being more open, and then it looks like you might be under pressure, and you kind of panic it away, maybe. I hate those. Yeah. Very boring play in the corner. That's well defended. That's a little aggressive. Oh. So, like, this all is fine with Barnes. It's not what I would do, but this is fine. I would probably go, you know what, I've got my 2 players here. Like, that's where my numbers are right now. I'd rather get the ball towards my numbers. But you hold on to it well enough, that's all fine. This is really aggressive, though, because all you're going to have is Harvey Elliott. Even if this pass comes off, then Elliott's running down the field, and you're doing the same kind of thing, like, he's just disconnected. By the time you get it there, there's going to be like 2 defenders, maybe 3 that have come back, and you won't have anybody up in support. They're going to be pretty far away from you. So even that pass is going to just be a little isolating. And the ability to dribble through there is probably just not going to be on. This is a much riskier approach to dribbling than I take. My risks, if I ever do take them, are normally towards like the top of the 18-yard box when I've exhausted my other options and I can't get through the back line because they're just sitting here and I can't really do anything else. So I'll take this kind of risk there, just saying, you know what, if I lose the ball, whatever, but I need to go ahead and try to get a shooting opportunity. But back here, that risk isn't worth it. Not to me. I want to get my actual build-up off. So this is one of those, like, if they're aggressive with the Trent and don't jockey well enough back here, or if they've committed to, like, a tackle, and if you can get them behind, then, like, you can play that risk because it will be very, very successful as you get behind. This is a risk I never take. I don't recommend it because I'd rather just take my for sure build-up. We'll just go back here and recycle and start again. it's also, but it's not really for me to say, like, you're wrong for being a risk type taking player. Because I will never take this risk, but I will also never get the massive reward. And the reward here could be you actually get way behind and Trent's like stuck back here, right? So there's a big risk. I don't think that trade-off is worth it, but I never gain those benefits. If you rely on those, if you want to go ahead and go for them, just know that you're going to harm your own like build-up play sometimes, you know? I'm not gonna do that, Steve. I mean, he's recreating Anfield here, so like you have to give him some leeway. Why is his pitch black? Is it just easier on his eyes or something? I don't get it. So that's all fine. I don't think I have much to add here. That's a good little turn back. This is a little more aggressive than I'd be on the dribbling again myself. But it's worked out quite well for you. I would hope that Salah would make this run inside. I don't know if you can L1, like press L1 on him. There is the mechanic of press L1 and he'll do that little run, and then you can flick the right stick and direct him. So you could try one of those. Otherwise you might be just stuck with like that kind of pass. Although we were talking on stream when you were watching in here, Alex, you can try that precision through ball and just do the curve there. As it is, you know, that's actually me saying maybe you should take more risk than you go ahead and go for. Just find that you take more assurance, or a more assured build up there. That's aggressive. So this, not only do I find this a pass that's not actually on, but it's a misrecognition of what you have available. Is this pass on? No. Is anything here open? No. But you've got this open, and you've also got that open. Xabi's right on back here. You can't see him on screen, but he's here. He's accessible. I mean, you can make that pass. You might have to just make sure that's curved. Actually, let's see if Frankie's moving into that spot. I forget. Frankie's pretty stationary. You can also just take your touch differently. Instead of like the touch being directly here because you're going for that, you can take this first touch a little bit more down, which gives you an easier passing angle there. But if you get the ball over to Xabi, then you've got Harvey in massive space over here. By the time you get the ball here, maybe like you can't predict from here because it depends on how the AI is going to shift for both teams. But you do that, you've got Harvey. You might have a pass on here. You might have a pass on to rush by then. You might just have a dribble. Take a finesse. Like, you've got some pretty good options on the other side there. And even if you're not comfortable making the pass back to Xabi, maybe you want to keep the ball in the box or something. Mycon's also super open. That's a level of aggression I don't think was necessary. The first touch. So Salah doesn't have first touch. This is something he can absolutely do in real life, but in game, something that's missing. That's good. Not quite on. This looks like it's on, and then the AI, well, the opponent just switch over, so it's closed down by the time you get it. This is a picking your eyes up and recognizing how many things you have on the field. Because if the opponent doesn't switch to VVD here, then this pass is absolutely there. If you recognize that reticle's above his head, I would not go ahead for this pass. I would just go back here. He again got Harvey in a really good spot. The opponent's midfield is really high. They're all the way back here, and this is very consistent. So if you recognize you control this space at like basically every single attack, absolutely, if you can work it back there, you'll be golden. The one other thing you can try is, where's the immediate threat here? It's that pass. The opponent recognizes it, switches it, goes over there. If the opponent guards this pass, if they move up this way, what does that open up? well, it's back this way. So if we, like, from VVD's shape now, we've got this gap. But if he moves VVD, let's even just say over here, all of a sudden you've got that gap, right? So it turns from that shape to that shape. So we add a little bit more distance, which might be all you need for Rush to take a shot in that way. You can try to go ahead and go against his momentum. Now it's not perfectly on. But that first touch this way, again, threatens that, makes the opponent find it that way. Instead of this, you probably have to go down a little bit first and then this way, which is a little tough because they might have two players closing you down. So I would go with this personally. I think that's your best option. You might be able to do just that pass instead, or maybe back to Rush or something, or just threaten that dribble. But you've got a couple different options, and I think you're like, you accept from here, like, oh, this looks like the best option, and you don't recognize it gets closed down, and you don't have a backup option selected. So in your head, you've got to be like, you know, I've got my main primary option, but if it ends up getting closed down, you've got to have an immediate, like, okay, that thing's gone, I've got a second thing already, like, so the hesitation isn't there. It's not like, thing's gone, I have panic here, I've got a second where I have to wait just to look around the field and think what else I can do. Having that little backup where you can go, I've got my outlet in case option 1 isn't available anymore. Really an important thing in my opinion. I'm not saying you don't have it, it's just like picking your eyes up in every single situation is pretty hard, and that's something we all can work on. Like, myself, pros, anybody, that's that's good. I really like that. I don't like that. So surprised you get on through there. Interesting, very interesting. Barnes is staying very wide. So this one is fine. Like, you've got Salah here. Where are your numbers? Inside. Where do you move? Inside. I really like that. I think that's just fine. It's a little risky. That could have been defended a little bit better, and then the opponent takes it from you, but that's all been completed. This little back out. Yeah, that passes it on. That's fine. We're back into that pocket, but what you should be looking at is really making the opponent drag the players out of position. So you play it into a space they're controlling here. Whereas if you can do something to make them select Frankie de Jong first and drag them out, then you've got more of a pocket here. You know, maybe you play it to Xabi Alonso and try to get them to select this player and drag them all the way here. And then you play it around, and now you've got a bigger pocket here instead of this player controlling that space. Something like that. There are a couple different things you can do here. I like, for the most part, I like going back down this way. Again, where are the numbers on the field? Well, you've got, let's look at the mini-map. You've got 2 out here. So if you do work it there, you've at least got that connection. That's not bad. But you've got, let's say, 4. You could say 5. You want to include Mycon in. And the opponent's got 6 here. So that is a 6v5, but like, I don't know, because you might, if you can do anything to get Barnes inside, then this is a great run. So maybe if you just delay it, let's see, is Barnes moving up? Or it looks like he's moving back inside. Is he going to complete that run? No, he's being weird. You'd have to call him short and then tell him to make a run from there. So you could press R1 on him, make him come this way, and then L1. The other thing you could do is just work it to Rabo and see, like maybe you dribble a little bit out there and then do a give and go. Might be able to get into that gap there. The reason I'm pointing all that out is like you've got some aggressive things where you can take the front foot, or you're at least threatening a front foot, where you might make the opponent, when you've got that move that's like, again, you're the one on the front foot, you're the aggressor, then the opponent has to be the reactor and respond to everything that you do. That's if you're taking the aggressive stance there. And again, this doesn't have to be aggressive in the way that like you're losing the ball. It's just like moving the game into a different game state. This isn't moving it into any different state. Like this is all just neutral. So you're not making the opponent do anything to like drag themselves out of position. This might make them drag themselves out of position, and it might not, but it might encourage them to. Nothing here is really going to net you a game, net you some benefit. Yeah, you might have the overlap to Mycon down in the future, so you could at least like do that kind of thing. But as it is most of the time here, this is just like maintaining your standard game state. I want to do something to get out of this neutral state and turn it in my favor. Alright, now we do go ahead and go with the overlap to Mycon. It's not that effective and we lose out. So again, you're kind of accepting, like, you're going into a space that they're already controlling. So anything you can do to drag them out. If you threaten this way first, and just disconnect them away from that center back, instead of this space, again, if you get them down here, you turn this space into that space, which is much easier to attack. If you pull them down this way, you might be able to just go into Salah, let him make that run. You might have enough of a burst of speed to get him behind there. Or you just start your attack from here. Maybe you'll have a pass across or something. What else do we have? I think this is the similar, like, you're trying to advance the game from the neutral state into a state where you've got the advantage, but I don't think this is the time to do that. I think you want to treat this as you've got the advantage back here. This is a big pocket of space. When you have this, you never need to do anything. Like, you will be able to hold on to the ball forever. They're not threatening you. You can just hold it back here. And if you think about it this way, if you just have this player here and you just sit him there, like, I've got Mycon, I'm just going to stand here. I'll stand here. I'll wait. You can wait however long you like. You could wait, like, 5 real-life minutes. Obviously not here. You could wait, like, a real-life minute until we get to the 45th or whatever. Just sit here. I'm not advocating for that, but the point of the thought experiment is you could just sit here. And eventually the opponent's going to go, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to go, like, be the aggressor and come get you. Now, if they're smart, they do it with this player when you're just sitting there, because then they don't pull somebody out of position. But a lot of people will just take this guy and go, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm going to move here. You've got no reason to move yourself from a position where you've got the space into a position where you don't. So you've basically disadvantaged yourself by moving forward here, even though it looks like being direct. Because, of course, again, everybody wants to go forward, right? But we're all stuck in that mindset. Now, where's your advantage? It's in this pocket. Now, in real life, like, the reason teams don't do this, where they just sit here, is because the opponents can keep their neutral shape, and nothing's going to happen from there. Like, both teams are just, like... Okay, so partially, if this player extends all the way out here, then what happens in real life is this player moves on over, this player moves on over, this player moves on over. In real life. In FIFA, it's like this one might move over like that, this one might do that, this one might do that. Like, they're not going to fix the problem of this for you. Or in real life, you know, in real life, this player drops back. So you just get your back four in some other way, or like these two would swap or something. Assuming they defend that well. You can just sit here. This is... You've got the advantage, and anything the opponent does to turn this spot from an advantage for you into more of a neutral game state is going to give you a benefit somewhere else. And even if they're aggressive, they do this, you at least do have an outlet here. You're never totally isolated like in this spot, because you could at least long ball back to the center back, so nothing here is going to be immediately threatening. If you consider your ability to just get out of it, you've got ways to do that. My point with this kind of thing is when you're in this spot, you've got one pass, I wouldn't say two. You've got one option, two options, at least three to the other center back, say that, and four, right? And potentially more considering, like, if Salah makes this run, you could have another one. Oops, you could have another one like that, right? Maybe this player comes connects, you've got another one. Maybe you just sit here and wait for the AI to make some moves, and you might have some other things on. But you go from, let's just say, like, 4 options. We can even say you've got 3 options. But you've got multiple options here, right? You move yourself into a position where you've now got maybe one, and yes, this is a higher quality option than we had in the past. But is that worth the risk? Again, that's something you can weigh. I would say no. But again, 3 or 4 options in the past to 1 and 2, and that's it. Now, if you do this, then you move yourself back into a situation where you've got more options. Maybe that pass is on, maybe not. Maybe that one's on. Maybe that is him. Maybe by that time somebody else makes a run and you can make a pass, right? Or at this point from here, because like from this spot, right, you can't go back to that one center back. If you do this, you can. But the less options on offense you have, the easier it is for the opponent to defend. And they're basically defending both options you have, both this pass and the ability to cut back. They're basically guarding both at once. Whereas if you had, let's say Rush was here. Nah, he'd be offside. Let's say you had a player here, right? So as you move forward, it's like, well, I've got that. I've got the dribble to cut back. I've got this little pass off. I could make this pass back immediately. I could dribble back this way and then make that pass and do something from there. If I dribble down this way, then maybe Salah keeps going and I've got that pass. I might have a couple different things I can do. The existence of somebody back here might make the opponent hesitate a little bit more. They're like, you know what? If I commit all the way here with Mendy, maybe you pass down here and do that and just like get past my defense anyway. So maybe Mendy is going, you know what? I'm going to defend a little bit more varied. I'm just going to stay here, be a little deeper, defend technically more things overall, or defend more danger overall by the existence of having another threat. Now, this isn't the best example of it. You could say like if Rush is here, then you've really got like, okay, let's say that, right? If Rush is here, just barely onside, but success, actually the ball's here, so he could be like there, right? But if Rush was there, then you threaten this pass, and you've maybe got this one, and you've got the ability to dribble back. Well, Mendy's going, you know what? Instead of defending here, I've got to defend here, because now I'm trying to guard Rush and guard Salah. And the existence of Mendy backing off maybe means you can take a dribble, you can go down this way and see what happens, you can go back down. You know, you're not immediately under pressure with a low dribbling player to try and out-dribble Mendy here. So you can see if you had more options further down, this would be fine. But that's the benefit of holding your greater number of options further back rather than kind of isolating yourself from them further forward. That's all okay. The existence of that run is threatening, so I understand moving Konate over. It's not perfectly defended. This pass is actually on here. The opponent doesn't go for it. But of course, you don't want to just guard this one because then this pass is very obviously on. So doing this and conceding the less dangerous option here is perfectly fine. That's the right thing to do. But just for anybody confused about that in chat, like when the opponent has, as we were talking about on the other side of the field, when the opponent has multiple options, there's no point defending the less dangerous one when they might have just a threatening goal-scoring opportunity. So you always want to defend that goal-scoring chance first and just concede, you know what, you'll do this. This might guarantee the opponent progression down the field, but that doesn't guarantee a goal-scoring opportunity immediately from it. So you just say, hey, go ahead and take that option. We're going to set our defensive shape just up deeper. Probably when you're back here, just buy a little bit of time, wait for everybody to track back, get back in your neutral defensive shape, and just defend from there, which is of course better than immediately conceding a shooting opportunity. Now, this might actually be a little more threatening than I was giving it credit for. You'd probably want to either have recognized this earlier and sprinted back with Konate, or swap to VVD, and you can either manually offside. I guess you could, double tap down on the D-pad and cause the offside trap. I don't do that myself, so I don't know if that would work in this situation or not. You could do that, or you could just switch to VVD, which I do a lot. Swap to him and just manually cause that offside trap. Or you swap to VVD and you drop. But trusting the AI here means that this run was actually timed pretty well. That could have been a threatening pass. Now, the other thing about it, this is actually a rare instance of kind of a curved run. They basically never do this year. And the opponent doesn't recognize it because you've only got the run was being made this way. And you've only got a second where this happens to react with your controller to do this, right? So you don't really, the opponent probably doesn't make this pass because there's only, that timing to get that down. And by that time, it's offside. And Cruyff only takes, let's see, maybe a touch or two in that time frame. So that's really hard. So that's probably why you weren't punished for it. But I'd still say it's threatening. You should probably treat that a little bit more dangerously. Now, off the first touch, not too scary here. I'm not sure what that is with Konate. This, if you want to corral, that's fine. But you have to corral from a little bit closer, because corralling doesn't really work when there's just a ability to get behind it. So you'd either have to be there, maybe switch manually to Mycon if this is really what you're worried about there. So you've got to manually position there, make sure that option is gone, then to take away their other option. And the benefit of that as a defender is the same is the inverse of what we were talking about on the other side. So if the opponent had 3 options, you take 1 away. They do nothing to generate an additional opportunity. They're just kind of maintaining that neutral state while you've subtracted 1 from them. And you take a second away. Well, now they've only got like 1, let's say 2. Like they've got 1 dribble here to the touchline. They've got another where they can cut back, but like their passing options are gone. And from there, it's like, well, you can't pass, and you're going to continue to not be able to pass, and I can just close you down and try to defend that dribble. And this is still cut off, so they don't have that, right? But you'd have to do that from either here, which of course opens up a bigger gap here. So if you do it from here, you would also have to make sure this gets cut off. Maybe you trust Mycon's AI to do it. Maybe you switch manually to him. Maybe you do like second man press, and it probably wouldn't work here, but maybe like you could try. But you'd have to do 2 things at once there. You'd have to just close them down and say, hey, if I'm here, you've got no passing opportunity, right? Or you swap to VVD and just guard that run again. Or you say, you know what? I'll just guard back this way. I'll stand here, I'll stand back here. I'm not even going to bother too much about dribbling, facing up against you. I'll sit here. You can do all this, and by the time you reach up here, I'll just defend you from this spot anyway. Yeah, the one threatening thing here, and actually Xabi is kind of physical on Cruyff here, so it doesn't happen, but it would just be like if they had the pass back there, which most players aren't going to recognize. So that's all fine from there. Of course, the first touch, you're defending evenly enough. I don't think Eto's left foot can score that. Definitely can't score that. You're in a good body shape here, where if that touch is taken here and they start threatening that near post shot, you should be able to come over and cover that with VVD. And of course, this touch back here, you're also defending. So I think from here, you do just fine. But there are a couple ways you could have prevented being in that spot in the first place. I will add, once again, the caveat of Alex complained that the gameplay was definitely very heavy here, so some of these finer movements we're talking about are just harder to perform in-game. I still want to offer them as, you know, things that he might see, things that, this analysis isn't just for him, so things that maybe the chat wouldn't see, things that they can take into their own games, but, chat, YouTube, whatever. Hi, everybody that's watching. Yeah, this is all much easier in analysis, of course, than when you're in the flow of the game, when you've got so many things to consider, when you're letting your emotions get to you a little bit, when maybe you've played for a couple hours and you get a little bit tired. And of course, there's other factors. So we're looking at this just in isolation, which I try not to do in like my one-on-one coaching sessions, but without a wider sense of, you know, where this game places and Alex's kind of normal gameplay. Yeah, it's a little bit harder to do, but I do want to add the caveats in every once in a while of nobody does all of this perfect. A lot of times not doing it perfect doesn't mean doesn't lead to you getting punished. So it's not like Alex has to do every single one of my things. Of course, if you attacked every attack perfectly, you'd score every attack. So it's like nobody does that. Even pros don't do that. Even pros playing people who are a little bit worse than them don't do that. So like, take all of this with a grain of salt. It's not like listening to my advice will lead to the perfect thing every time, but the ideas I think are all pretty solid, pretty worthwhile, just considering. And again, if these aren't tools that you have in your toolkit, you're just kind of hindering yourself, right? The more things you have available per attack to pull out and give yourself an advantage, the better. A little isolated there. Yeah, that's not on. I see another thing you could have done. Now, as you move the ball down here, what's the numbers game? Well, this is a 2-on-2. Right? You could make this a 2-on-3 if you connect Harvey again. You could just go back this way. Maybe by then Robert's made that pass. You can do that. But this is just kind of getting you away from the rest of your support. Again, this is the main analysis here I would have is just as you take this touch from like this way and focus back this way as your body shape is facing here, you've moved yourself away from any other option. You could have 1, you could have 2, you could turn into this in half 3. You don't really have as many here. I mean, you could try right-footed passes with Barnes. I don't know if he's good enough to do that. I haven't used him. But facing this way, you're basically just communicating. I've got 1 option, maybe 2 as a dribble. If you stay face up this way, then you at least keep the opportunity to turn this way and make that pass as Robbo completes it further down the line, because of course a pass from here would be much more effective than a pass from here. That might actually lead Robbo to getting in behind. And the sooner you show your hand to your opponent, the sooner they turn to defending this. So if your first touch is up this way, and you don't communicate to your opponent at all that you're even looking at this, they might not defend this at all. So you could just, oh, I'm up this way. Oh, surprise, I'm going back this way and then getting behind. If the opponent does just hard commit to defending this anyway, you might be able to press L1 on Harvey, make a pass there. You could do a dribble in this way, do a little give and go. None of that is what I would actually do in this situation. Now that's lucky. So we could, I don't want to harp on this too much, but just complete your dribble further away from the opponent. But from here, the reason I was pulling up the numbers game, how on this side of the field, this is a 2-on-2. Could be a 3-on-2, could be a 4-on-3, depending on how the situation progresses. This is a guaranteed 3-on-2 for a little while. So your number advantage is on this side. If you can do, let's go back to consider the first touch with Harvey here. Because this first touch will consider a lot about this move. Now, again, facing down this way isn't necessarily a bad call here, because you communicate to the opponent that they should defend this way. But if you fake down that way, you might be able to take that turn that way and then do this. That said, I don't think it's needed. That might give you an additional benefit of allowing this run to be, instead of making a pass to them here, you make a pass to them here. So again, you might gain a little bit of a benefit from it, but I don't think that's really necessary given the game state, and there's a little bit of risk to it, and I don't know if I would do that. So instead of the first touch down that way and doing that fake thing, let's take your first touch this way. You can dribble up into space here. As you do this, if the opponent, because again, you've got multiple options. You can just dribble, you're in space here, you've got no threat. You've got the pass on here, which almost certainly will not be defended, so no matter what happens here, you'll have some kind of threat. Or if the opponent hard commits to taking that player and defending this, then you'll probably have that gap to go into instead. Now, a smart defender wouldn't take that risk, because then they're opening up a bigger risk, but you'll either have that. Or this you should have, depending on how Rafinha tracks back here. Not perfectly, so likely you'll at least have a through ball on there. And again, that through ball onto this pass might make it more beneficial, depends on how the play moves on from here. All of that aside, you also have your striker, so anything you do here, you could just hard dribble up this way and really commit to looking like you're going to do this. By the time you do that, maybe your opponent takes a player like this and just moves over there. Maybe they're probably a little surprised, like, why didn't you make that pass earlier? You're just kind of dribbling up. And as you do that, they take this player, go up this way. You might have that pass on a rush. So you've got a couple things up that way. I won't talk about that anymore. I think it's You know, we could sit here debating for a while how that play would progress depending on a couple of factors there, but I think the numbers advantage should be your little light bulb, you know, cue of this is the side of the field I should be continuing to go on. Okay, let's see. So the downside to this, as I was kind of talking about with the opponent's Mendy on the other side of the field, and they didn't do it, when you want to like force the opponent to pull their player away from the rest of their defense, well, this is kind of why. As you pull Konate all the way over here, instead of you defending from here, you're defending from out here, and it turns that gap into that gap, which is a much bigger area of space. Now that's really unlucky. This is an anticipate plus player. It doesn't really look like you press stand tackle, so maybe that's why this interaction is weird. That said, what is that, Hansen? Yeah, Hansen versus, what is she? She's like 5'10", 5'9", 5'8", versus 6'4" Konate with the strength difference you think just should be in your favor. The risk of pressing stand tackle from here is it might be a throw-in instead of something possession for you. Of course, a throw-in is better to concede than this. But my bigger question is this necessary at all? This level of risk? Now, the opponent hasn't communicated to you at all, hasn't shown you anything this whole match that they're any kind of skiller or really any kind of dribbler. So I would say, get them in a situation where they should need to dribble. Because as you get here, like, you're basically saying, you're not going to out-dribble me, I'm too close, you can't do anything. This opponent doesn't have, like, the skill move repertoire to do something that way and then that way, right? So you're just kind of going, you know what, you're not going to dribble me anyway, I'm just going to close you down, I've got this. Which should work, but it's this game, sometimes it won't. Again, I don't want to criticize too hard because this just kind of sucks, but if you just, instead of doing that, if you just defend here, you're face up, you just communicate to the opponent, you know what? You can have all of this space. You can come and dribble me at me face up here. To what detriment, to what threat would that actually be? Because this is a non-dribbling opponent, so you know what? Have your dribbling space. Come at me, get your head of steam, get your little, you know, burst of pace here. Threaten something from there. You're not going to be able to. I've got Konate here. I'm very confident with him as a defender, and I'm very unconfident in you as a dribbler. I don't think you're going to do anything here. So you know what? There's no risk to giving this level of space. That does guard this pass better. You know, the opponent, in a way, could try to make that pass now. That might be successful. It probably shouldn't be because VVD is so close, and this is not an incisive plus player. But there's a chance that works, depending on, you know, if we go back and debate at what time exactly the opponent could have made that. This might be completable, probably not, you know. But again, if you're backing off with Konate, then definitely not. Just guard that passing lane. Now from here, you guard the pass. Now for all of that talk of me saying the opponent's never been a dribbler this whole match, they do their first dribble. That happens. That's just a thing that's it's a thing with tendencies. Like if the opponent shows you more of one thing that they're going to do, the more beneficial it becomes for them to do anything else because you get so trained to defending the one like mechanic or the one play style that they have. The one time they pull something else out, it is a big surprise. So step overs would probably catch me off guard here. Of course, you're reacting a little bit late considering all of that. You're probably a little frustrated, but if you can switch over to VVD at this point, then by like you'd have time to just close this down and prevent anything from there. But it's 8:33 here. You don't switch to VVD until around 8:34 to 8:35, and that little extra second of a difference might be the gap there too. Now this is very neutral positioning. If you want to defend this better, what I would say is cut this down immediately. Your first dribble should be this way, or your first commitment, your first move should be this way. Try to do that first and then defend very hard from there. Because if you cut down from this angle, the pass is guarded the entire way as you're closing him down. Maybe he's advanced a little more this way, so instead of going here, you're going here, right? But as you're just kind of staying goal side, you block that pass the whole time staying goal side. There's a little risk there. You're basically saying, I don't think Eto is going to be able to score that from here, and by the time he gets to a spot he can score from, maybe here instead of here, you know? As the time he gets to that pass, I'm able to get back and cover that again. Or maybe Eto just kind of goes this way and you've delayed enough where Konate gets back in, you've gotten back into your defensive shape a little bit better. But as this is basically you defending neither thing and then committing to one at the end, which allows the opportunity for the opponent to do the other thing. This is a little bit of a gamble, like 50-50 one way, 50-50 the other, and you don't like those odds as a defender. So instead, let's go back and make sure that there's some good timing on this. Now, part of that would be fixed if you switch over here. Anytime after this moment, if you switch to VVD. But at here, yeah, because this is not a scoreable shot. So that's not something that's going to get past Allison there. Maybe a shot by like here would be able to, but this one, no. So immediately, if you can go this way, I think you'll be just fine on defense here. But you kind of linger, and then you gamble on one option, and that goes against you. Oh, we have an immediate kickoff counter. I don't think I have any comments for this. This is just the attacking AI always being stronger on kickoffs. Opponent not recognizing it very well, and it's very effective, but again, this just, like, I experience this on kickoffs. This happens all the time. I don't know why the runs are, like, guaranteed to be made and made well off of kickoff and aren't always made well throughout the rest of the game. Let's actually go back. So from here, that's interesting. The only reason that pass is completed is because it's a short little lob pass. That's too aggressive from Konate. That's just unnecessary. I'm not quite sure what you're trying to accomplish, but your team's very out of shape and there's no need to pull them even further out of shape. This is already a little compromised, though that pass probably isn't too threatening. But by the time you pull them out, that definitely is. I'd just say sit Konate back on the defender a little bit more. You don't have to pull him like even with the VVD here. But instead of this gap, if you just like sit him here, then by the time any pass is made, you'd be able to get to that first anyway. The existence of pulling him out there gives the opponent this gap here, which they don't do anything with. They don't threaten any other ability to do anything, so you don't have to respond to anything else here. So of course the immediate defense is just fine. If he turns with Eto to like make a pass over here, then you've got to change your defense. But as it is, just it's very straight up play there. Interesting. That's all right. Let's see. That's much better defending. This is a little more of what I was talking about with the other play, where you just guard that immediately. So you take away that option for sure, and then you're able to defend from there. They just go for it anyway and play right into you. Now that's an unlucky bounce. It happens this year. You get it back. Yeah. Can we do anything different with the shot here? Because the rest of the play is fine. It's very poorly defended. This we've talked a lot about with Alex on defense of just no need to take that risk, but this is the benefit of making that threat because the opponent's in a lose-lose situation here either way. So this is great play. Either the opponent backs off and just hard commits to defending that run, in which case you have space here anyway. Like, you will not lose in that situation. or they don't commit to defending that immediately and you just get in behind. So these situations are great because either you get major success or you get minor success. There's no losing here for you. This is the stuff I really love to build. You get that threat, you just maintain your options open, you get one of them to be threatening, the opponent has to do something to defend it, or they don't and you just take it. But like, even if they do defend it, you've got other things already available to you. You'll have enough space here, even if you got to turn away and just build your attack from there, but you're going to have at least a second or two here on the ball to do something else with. Is there anything else we can do? So the across the body shot from here doesn't normally go in. If it's from like here, it might. If this is a Trivella, it might. I don't know if Barnes could Trivella this at all. Near post I don't think is on. We don't have that pass from here. Although you could try to spam that through. I don't think it's going to work. Why is he on the ground? Is there anything else we could do from a second before? This is a tough one. You can try to dribble inside from here and just take your chance. Like, if you think from here you're not going to get a goal scoring opportunity, then you can do a little dribble in here and go from there. I don't think that's worth it. It's just an option you can consider, but like myself, I wouldn't go for it. It's worth being direct here, I think, and just seeing if this is going to be on. I think at this point, the answer would be no for me, although there's a chance of scoring a goal here. It's not a high chance, but there is a chance, so you can weigh that yourself. From here, you could do a little skill move and try to get that pass on. I don't think that's going to work. You could just try to go touchline and see if that pass is going to be on from there. It could, if you just slow down. If you do a little ball roll there. You did the ball roll with Ian Rush earlier in the match from like here, right? Do that little ball roll. If the gap opens up here, we could do a pass across. Maybe you do a shot from there. Slowing down to make the shot a little bit better. Otherwise, just from there. This is a very tough situation to do anything about. You have a couple different options you can take, but every single one of them has downsides, so I don't mind the shot. It's probably got to be green timed. Let's see. All right, we love it. We love a goal from Big Verge. Okay. All right, so we've got this nonsense. Short corners are so powerful. We've got big gap there. You probably meant that to Xabi instead of Konate, but like that's fine. That's a surprisingly good turn from the big lad. And then great finish. So I've scored these with center backs before. It doesn't necessarily surprise me that shot goes in. That's well worked. It's very poorly defended. So if that were better defended, I would have more critique for you on what else you could have done that move. But considering you're just kind of responding to what the opponent does, and what the opponent did was very poor, you did everything right. That's fine. All right, we've got more kickoffs this game. Let's see. That's a little bit of a heavy commit with Verabo. I don't know if he meant to. So I talk a lot about shape on defense. Because when you're here, let's say you've got your 4 players in your back line, right? And you turn this shape into like that shape, and you pull one of your center backs out, then that's a massive gap in the center that's pretty easy to attack. But when you turn it into, let's say, like that shape, that's fine, especially if they don't even have a threat out here. Now, the existence of a player here means you probably don't want to drag that player out. Even if they do get here, it's not the most threatening position as they're here, like if they get closer to the touchline, but that's, you know, risk you can weigh one way or the other. But if there's nobody out here, then like pulling the fullback out doesn't leave any real disadvantage whatsoever. Pulling the center back out absolutely does. So this I like. I'm very aggressive with my fullbacks. Because what are they going to do? There's this space and nobody to attack it. But if you pull the center back out, well, all of a sudden this player's making a run there. So Mycon up, perfectly fine. Gravenberch up, you're hoping for a tackle. You're being a little bit risky. You're saying like, hey, I want the ball back here. If I don't get it, then, you know, you accept that you might have a weakened state of defending further down. But you can trust yourself to defend it from there, and that's fine. It's kind of a 3-on-3 here, so this is a little dangerous, but there's nothing immediately here that's too threatening. It's just, you know, you'd see how the game progresses from there. But this is what I was talking about. This is risky. As VVD, normally he makes that tackle. Just didn't that time, but again, that's a risk you've got to weigh. I imagine the opponent's meaning this to go to Proteus there. Yeah, I don't think... It's one thing... Because you just want to say goal side. So it's one thing if VVD stays here, because there's no immediate, like there's no immediate through ball through or anything. If you stay here, that's fine. Even if you want to make your tackle, just make sure you stay on this side of the opponent so that when they turn like this, you can react to it and stay goal side still. And anything you do from here is just buying time for the rest of your team to get back. So that's perfectly fine. I don't mind the step up here because there's no immediate run being made through either. The problem is just that you commit and then they're able to get through. So that's the problem there. Now the opponent could threaten that. I don't know if Eto's passing is good enough to make that, but it is a little scary. They don't go for it, so we're not going to talk about it too much. I'd probably just try to be a little more flexible in my defending, considering they do have that. This all I think is pretty well done. The only comment I might have is your midfield two are in kind of a weird shape here. I'm not sure what they're doing. Shabby I'd like to have in line with Gravenberch. Not that I would suggest moving him back there. You know, any amount of time the ball takes to get over there, you'd have time to drag somebody else there anyway. But maybe just get somebody else and get your midfield line of two. I don't like the 4-1. I don't know if you're playing a 4-1-4-1, but I don't like this on defense. If these two were a little more connected, that's one thing, but this shape I don't like, because then this leaves a big pocket here. Now you almost turn this into a 3-2-3 by pulling Robertson out. Which, if you want to commit to defending like that, that's fine, but you'd have to connect Kanate at some point and then make sure VVD's guarding Eto enough. I don't think you're trying to go for that, so I just keep Robbo more neutral. You know, if you stay here and the opponent's like, well, they've got this, is that really that much of a threat? No, I think you've got chances to defend that from there. If the opponent stays in this shape and they get this pass on, is that the most dangerous? Shouldn't be, because you've got two defenders really close, should be able to close that down on the first touch there. So what's the harm of Robbo staying a little bit more neutral, able to react? I think you're in the react state here. You just need to wait for whatever the opponent's going to do and go from there. I don't think you're in the advantage state on defense where you're being the one who should be the aggressor and forcing the opponent to react to you. I think just stay more neutral, because this allows them to get into a little bit more threatening of a space. There. Now they do literally nothing with it. This would be a little more threatening if Proteus was here, because then that pass can be completed, but there's no pass that can be made there. Opponent runs out of options by taking that greater threat. So from there, it would be a little bit more scary if they did like around that way, but for all the criticizing I did of you pulling Robbo out, the opponent's AI did nothing with it. If their AI decided to do something, you'd be under a little more trouble. It looks like you might be in a 4-1-4-1 now. I don't know if you played that the whole game or if you swapped to it at the end. I've got nothing to say about any of that. Tack over to this, and that's a little too long. I think you just show the opponent your hand. It's like you tack that whole time, and then you keep tacking, and they're just expecting you to keep going, so it's a pretty obvious thing to defend. It's a little more effective if you start with tech and end with something else. Power shot fake. Overlap is fine. Interesting. Okay. Thorns are very effective. I like all of this. That's all fine. He's a little far away, so maybe you just want to keep the offense turn with rush here and try that pass instead. Just for greater directness. because this alleviates the pressure a little bit, but then you've got more options. It is kind of up to you which one you want to weigh. As the opponent does decide to be aggressive, I don't think they have any need to, so this is a risk that they're taking, but as they decide to be aggressive with Mendy, that does open up space on the outside. I would have been incisive here and tried to get more in behind. Not that I want him taking that shot there, low shooting right backs, but I just think this would be a better space to attack from. So if you could do anything, maybe precision passes we talked about on stream of just getting further down. As it is, this touch does work. The opponent's very aggressive once again. They should be a little more neutral here. They could defend a bit more out here or a bit more out there. I think either would really work here. If you defend here, you've got to make sure you've got to have the sprint speed. So they basically make sure they've got the momentum to cut back here if need be. Defending here would basically allow this player to step up a little bit more, I think. But as they're aggressive, or as they're kind of neutral and then just turn aggressive and you step inside them, then this is obviously a great option. Now, you've mentioned precision shooting and that you're experimenting with it. You've not really used it before and you're getting used to it. I think this is just you not being used to the left stick accuracy actually being that accurate. So this shot will be better for you eventually. This should be a finesse with his left foot, but I'll let it slide a little bit. I think you're a little lucky for all of this attack to have worked like it, because the opponent could have made a tackle there and doesn't, and could have swapped to VVD and made a tackle and doesn't. Interesting. Ooh, okay. There's a lot to talk about there. First thing I want to say is, bro, this would rub me so, I'd be so upset here. Look at Xabi Alonso from this point. Standing, calling for the ball. He's got his arms stretched out. Give me the ball, give me the ball. You're just standing there, man. This sucks. This is such bad movement. No, he's accessible, it's fine, because he's just in open space. But you know what would make this pass even better as you go back to him? Instead of being there, if he's just over here, just a little more of an angle, because as he's there, then you can threaten getting back this way. You can threaten to pass down, I think, a little bit. This is just so neutral. No, don't. It's fine, but it's so neutral. Now, what else could we do here? That's you staying neutral, and I think you could threaten things from here. Now, if he passes back to Xabi immediately, this might actually be more effective, because then you've got your runner ahead of you. The thing about getting it to the furthest forward player is then you've got no options to play it, right? So you just got to go back. If you keep it here, Salah might make a good run from there. If he goes this way, maybe you can play that pass. If he goes this way and pulls VVD with him, maybe you can dribble that with Xabi. Or maybe he runs to the outside, Or you call him short. I mean, you could, pass it to him, call Salah short, do a little give and go from there. Just a little, 1-2. As you get the ball to Salah, I don't like standing still with him immediately. I'd want his first touch to go up this way, make the opponent select VVD, drag him out, and create enough space back this way, where you should be able to take one touch inside and just finesse. Now you can try this and make the opponent, whether they're selecting him or select VVD, either way should allow you to A, drag them slightly more to this side, and B, get momentum where you can take one touch and two touches and gain a little speed where you should be able to go out that way. But both require a little move this way or a little move that way first. I don't like you staying here, because as you just kind of sit there, I think the opponent is allowed to just close this down a little bit, where by the time they do step forward, now your ability to do either is a little bit limited. Yeah, they just get too close. And this is some interesting decision making from me. It almost works out for you, but then you don't have anything open. This, I would just say, recognize that your option is actually back here with Xabi and just restart your attack from there. Maybe you'll have this oops, maybe you'll have that pass, maybe you'll have that one back on again. Rush isn't quite open enough there. Now you do have this pass on. I would do that and then another pass over, or you do it from here, little touch down, try to get VVD to commit over and then make that pass even more open. That's the one I'd probably recommend the most. That said, I don't think I'd even take that touch forward there, personally. I'd just maintain this shape. Maybe you'll have one of those passes over from there, depending on how the attacking AI develops with you. But you can also threaten going up this way, try to get them to select that player, and then open up that gap more. I think this is the same thing we've talked about a couple times, where you've got the space here, there's no immediate tackle coming on you, nothing you can't react to. Keep your space and threaten something before making your move. The opponent's in their flat shape. Anything you can do to pull this out, even a little bit, it doesn't have to be the massive gap. But even if this player shifts a little bit more, if this one comes up, maybe by the time you do that, then you'd be able to get behind there without this player committing over. Same idea if this player steps up a little bit. Same idea pretty much across the board back there. Maybe you just kind of stay in the shape a little bit, and buy time for one of the runs made off of you to be a good run. But as you kind of step forward into them right away, you take away most of your chances from you. So you've got a couple things you could do, and then you've got like 2 things you can do from here. If you do this immediately, you might encourage them over, and then you've got that pass back up. But because your first touch is a little up and then a little down, I think you kind of limit yourself from both. That might just be the heavy gameplay. So I don't want to criticize the touches that Ellie is making because it could be heavy, but I think decision-wise, you limit yourself from a lot of your options here, and you go for one that isn't super strong right away. That's a little forceful. From here, I don't have anything to say about that. I mean, opponent. These do suck. I do this all the time as a defender. It's like, well, I just want to press X and clear the ball, and it's just a ground pass that goes right back to the opponent. I mean, yeah, you could have cleared it, but clearing the ball feels so bad in FIFA. I don't want to just give it away again. Yeah, great first touch. Salah's great there. Left foot, that's all fine. Yeah, in this 4-1-4-1, I think you should do a better job of recognizing the pockets are going to be... Let's take your normal shape. So you've got your back line here. And your midfield shape should be like that, right? Which means where are the pockets of space? They've got a big pocket here and a big pocket here. They've got somebody in that space, so this is threatened, which means I think you should do a better job of just covering that. This isn't the most threatening. Maybe they've got like that pass on, but by the time they do, Konate could cover. So I don't mind Xabi stepping up here as much. You know, you could defend with him and just completely accept that you're going to take this away, but give them so much space here. I wouldn't really feel comfortable giving them space here. Maybe you could defend this with Salah and take away a less vital player of your midfield. Or switch to him and defend that instead and say, hey, if I pull this player out of position, you gain this space. I care about that less than the space in this space, so you could do that instead, but I won't criticize that too much. There's another thing you could do, but like I do that all the time anyway. This one, though, especially in a 4-1-4-1, I don't think I'd pull my CDM, or I don't think I'd use my CDM as much as you do. I'd just use the center mids more. Here, especially that you've committed Xabi away, having a midfield shape of, like, let's get your back line again. And then your midfield shape is like this now. That's not a great shape. So instead of like pulling this player out as well and just accepting defending in a 1-4, I would get a 2 midfield setup. So I just pull Harvey back and connect with Gravenberch and keep this shape, this line in midfield. Like, this isn't the worst shape as a midfield. I do like this a lot. There's some advantages, even as I'm talking about the pocket here. I used the 4-3-3 false 9 all of last year, and this was the midfield shape, and I loved it. It's great. But when you do lose one of them, I don't like this shape. This is fine. I don't like this one. So I would just drop this back. Buy time for Xabi to come back, and then you can get your midfield shape from there. And you get done by the opponent's second skill move of the game. So again, these are a little hard when you're like, I didn't know the opponent could even do that. Of course, the trickster plus fake shots are very threatening this year. That said, the only thing they have is sprinting through here. Now, this is tough to guard when, like, they could do a through ball, or they could run out this way, or they could do something else, and it's like, which one am I supposed to defend in this situation? And this one, that's all they have. If you recognize that a little sooner, and just go, you know what, VVD is a little out of shape. I switch to him, I cover that. You can switch to Kanate and drop him if you prefer. I wouldn't recommend that because there could be another pass out there, but, you know, if you mess up your switching and switch over to him, then, like, it's fine. But just get your flat shape here, because this, you've got that little gap there. No need for it. Just drag him a little over. So when can you recognize that? I think as soon as that toe is offside and VVD comes over. Now, I don't know why he's so aggressive moving over there and Kanate doesn't come to fill or anything. Just pick your eyes up and recognize that. You can even drop with Robbo here. I mean, there's a couple things you can do. Try to switch to Gravenberch and drop. But the one threat is some acceleration-based skill move to get in behind. You lose the ball on kickoff there with a very... you've got to be sprinting there. I don't, I don't even know what that touch was. Whatever buttons you use there, don't do that again. It's a little... yeah. So this is why I don't like defending so heavily with my CDM, because you pull them out and your center mids aren't going to fix it for you. So there's a big obvious gap there on the other side. I defend that with Robbo because there's no threat. If the fullback was out here, that'd be another story. If they could, you know, you pull Robbo out here and then they've got a big overlap. But as this player doesn't exist, Robbo, I think, is your safest defensive option. So I just defend with him there. You can be a little aggressive. You can pull him over. That allows Gravenberch to stay over here. You've got your numbers on the other side of the field. That's all fine. Compromising defending the space that isn't being attacked whatsoever. So you don't even need a player to occupy there. Just defend with him instead. You're very aggressive with that CDM, which I think opponents would be able to take advantage of, yeah. That's all fine. I've got no comments. Opponent's too aggressive and they move into you. Move it into a pocket. I like that. Is he onside? No. Go back. That's fine. I don't know what that is. So this is a good example of you not... when nothing's on, you're not moving the ball out of that pocket. Out of that pocket, you can keep your space here, force the opponent to come to you. You can probably wait for Salah to get back onside and just dribble out here instead of the pass back. But the pass back's fine. I mean, you've got the lead. You don't have to be aggressive with every attack either. I have no idea what that is. I think you've got that pass on just fine. I just do that. Might even have the through ball onto Salah from there. You're trying to switch it to, like, your left mid there? Now, I do want to say, like, this is good to play from Alex. He's got the lead. He's played pretty well in this game. There's been a couple silly moves. I'm criticizing basically everything he's doing, not from the point of, like, this has been a bad game, or, like, he's a bad player or anything. He's a very good player. It's just, I don't think there's any move in FIFA that can't be looked at and analyzed. So even, like, the successful ones, when he does score from it, it's like, here are the other things that could have happened here that, like, maybe you can think about, right? So just a reminder of don't take this as like, well, because I'm saying so many things in this match, then, like, clearly that's a bad sign. It's like, no, I could do this with my own game. I could talk about a single game of mine for hours. So, like, it's got nothing to do with that. Let's see here. You're moving into a space where you don't have numbers, so you're just kind of outnumbered around here. I think your option was back to Xabi. as you're moving away from everybody else, the only thing you really have is like back to your center back here. So that, I think, you either got to do a skill move, you can do a little ball roll or something more fancy to just get away here. You can try maybe like a Burba spin and go that way past the opponent. There are a couple skill moves that might accomplish that. We've got the L1 where I stick this way, like same buttons as the Burba spin, but with the L1 where they do like this little move there. But I would have just used Xabi. Xabi's in a great little pocket here. Would have escape out to Salah or Maicon, so he's got options, this is perfectly fine. But this, you're just kind of moving away from everybody else. Yeah, same criticism there. You're just kind of, once again, moving into everybody else, and you're playing into the opponent's default defensive shape. Do something to pull them out, and then you'll have the opening there. That's fine. Heavy pass leads to heavy first touch. I think if you're aware that this is going to be a heavy first touch, then you can take it a little further away from the opponent. Just face up. Take it that way instead of this way, right? You take it that way, you've got like other things you can do. It's just... not that I like that. I mean, any professional footballer should be able to take a first touch there. It's just how FIFA is. What a touch that was from Rush. And that's perfect. He's not going to be that... he is fast enough. Shame. I didn't think he would be fast enough, but I haven't used the card, so I've got no comment. If you've got like a hunter or something on him, then yeah, you're confident with his pace. It's perfectly fine. I don't know what that first touch was at all. I'm very impressed by that one. Yeah, the rest, no comments. That's all good offense. I don't think you've got like a pass off there or something you could do with a rush, so maybe just a chip, but most of the time that shot's probably going to go in. Just maybe green time your shot. There's the aggression with Gravenberch again. I think in this case, just keeping him on the furthest forward. By the time that pass is made and they take any step forward, you've got time to adapt to it anyway. I just keep him in this line of sight. Or in that passing lane. Now VVD saves you from it a little bit, but I don't know if I would rely on that. Of course it's VVD, so sometimes that happens. That's all well done. Force the opponent to come out of the shape. Now you've got space in behind. That's all great. That's good too. They've pulled out of shape. I think you get this a lot in FIFA, of course, at the end of the game, where they're going to be a little more aggressive, so you've got more spaces you can attack into. This is you, again, we've commented on this a couple times this game, you moving from a space that you controlled into a space that you don't. Now, of course, sometimes if you can encourage the opponent to defend that space really hard, like I might do this with Neymar, because I'm really confident with like a skill move to get out of it. But if you move into the space and just force their opponents to come over this way a little bit more, you might be able to escape out of it and get a bigger advantage, a bigger pocket of space back this way, maybe with some like paste into it, as opposed to just doing it from here where you haven't encouraged them over, so they're able to get, guard that a little bit more. But instead, you show the opponent that you want to go this way, and you also just keep going this way, which is very easy to defend. Yeah, I like that aggression. Very little you can do when a center back's sprinting at you, that's perfectly fine. And even if they got past the center back, I think the fullback was close enough to defend. Interesting, Salah. That I all like. I don't know if you're holding something with his dribbling here. This looks very weird. First touches this year are rough. You just got to kind of take it away from the opponent. This amount of space last year was fine. It's not this year, so you've just got to have an even bigger gap this year. What an interception, though. No comments on the rest of that. That'll be the end of this match. I would love at some point to do this again. Maybe see if we can get another game where both Alex and Steve feel like they're implementing some more of this, and we can comment on that from there. I do plan to do this with some of my own gameplay and with some of yours. We're going to talk about that here soon. But once again, these are my two podcast hosts. We're at The Foot Show. We've got podcasts every, I think it's Monday and Thursday right now. There's a gameplay pods Thursday. We've got content pods Monday. do highly recommend you check that out. There's a Twitter. I've got my co-hosts in the description and our link to the Spotify podcast in the description. You can find the others from the Twitter as well. And yeah, this is just I've really enjoyed doing this. Everybody's taken to it really well. These I'm working with two top guys who are doing it with me. And I felt like doing this little, like, I guess celebration, something like that kind of goes along with the pod to analyze my co-host gameplay, and hey, maybe they'll do mine someday or something. But yeah, I think there's a lot to learn here. I think there's a lot of good stuff with what they're doing, and it's very interesting for me to take a look at gameplay that's so different from mine, because I would never play my games like this. But not saying that like this is the wrong way to do it. This is a perfectly fine way to work. Perfectly fine way to play. You can see it works. And I like that, again, Alex has this like ground-based style, and Steve's trying to copy mine a little bit as well. So I like that we're all doing a similar thing, but with our own flair to it. So yeah, really did enjoy doing all of this, and I'm looking forward to doing some more analysis from here on out. All right, hopefully that was helpful. I believe there was some really good, insightful stuff in there. I think a lot of that will apply to most of you, but if you want to send in your own games, let's talk about that. So there will be a Google form in the description. If you want to record your own games, you've got to upload them on YouTube or some service like that. Send the link on over to me via that Google form, so I'm able to keep track of all of your responses. Again, this is a subscriber special gift. We may do this down the line, but as a 1,000 subscriber special, I wanted to offer something to all of you. Depending on the amount of responses that we get, will depend on how many of you I'm able to get to. Obviously, if we get a bunch of these, then I may have to, unfortunately, select down to just a couple, but I'll do as many as I can, depending on how time permits and all of that. It may be a little while until I get to some of yours, again, depending on submissions, but I'll do my best with it. I do, again, hope this is helpful. It will be just one game per person, so I'm not going to do, 2 matches, and I prefer not to do like a half of one game and then a different half of another. I'd hope it's all one, but if that's how you're able to record or all of that, we'd talk about it. I am available on Discord if you want to contact me through there about this. But yeah, this is something I've thought about for a while, and as we've hit 1,000 subscribers, I'm over the moon. I genuinely cannot believe. If you're a little bit newer to the channel, especially it's because the subscriber count has just risen and risen. I planned on doing this about a week ago, and even as it is, we're at 1,080, so it just, again, keeps going up. Thank you all. But if you're newer to the channel, it was, I think, 2 or 3 months ago where I was only at like 170. So the whole year of making content, I only started making stuff for like the back half of FIFA FC 24. And my subscriber count goes from like 25 to 170, and then the new game hits, it goes up to like 200-300, and all of a sudden, like, November we explode from 200 to 800-900 something. So the growth for me has been just absolutely absurd. Thank you all for the likes, the comments, the subscriptions, anybody who's sharing it, anyone who's checking out the Discord, anybody who's showing up every day in the live streams, any amount of support you've showed. I cannot believe. I can only hope that I get to maintain all of you, that I keep putting out stuff that's worthwhile to keep checking on out. Hopefully this will be a different avenue to do that if we do this kind of replay analysis stuff. I plan on uploading some of my own games. We might do Alex and Steve down the line if they feel like sending some more games in. Maybe if they feel like what I did was helpful, and we can do a check-in to see if they're implementing any of the stuff I talked about. But yeah, some of my own games and then some of theirs, but also yours, getting a well-rounded experience where just kind of the more games we do, the more playstyles we observe, hopefully the more well-rounded and better we can all become as we do it. But yeah, the support and the interest in the channel has been just phenomenal to me. It's like, not only has all the numbers gone up, which is great, but like the way all of you have taken to it, where you're appreciating the style, we're all trying to do something a little different, where you're reaching out and saying, hey, this actually really has helped. This is how it's helped. I do lend like the encouragement to keep making this kind of stuff. All of that's really driven me to keep going, because this game's tough. I think we can all admit that. Sometimes it gets to me. I'm a little bit more upset playing this year than I have in some past years, but it's the existence of all of you that keep going with the support that really makes me want to keep going. And I wanted to give back. So hopefully this is something you all would enjoy. Yeah, check out the description for that Google form if this is something you're interested in. and I'll try to get to as many as you can. So thank you all for 1,000 subscribers, 1,080 again as I sit here. The number keeps going up. And yeah, if you've got any questions, any comments, anything, do get at me once again in the comments here in YouTube or at my Discord. You can DM me if you want, or you can just check out the server as it is. I'm on Twitter as well. Everything's in the description there, but hopefully this is helpful. I'm really excited to do this. I get to watch some of your gameplay, and it's going to be, good faith in the way that I did Alex and Steve's. I'm not like a criticizer or a critiquer in that way. It's not negative. This is all kind of trying to build stuff up, so I'm really excited about this, and I want to give something back to all of you. So if you have watched this far, I do appreciate all the support. Like, comment, subscribes, all of that stuff, as I say at the end of every video. I'll catch you in the next one here. I've got some more tutorials and settings videos coming up here shortly, so stay tuned for that. I'll catch you all in the next one. Take it easy. Have a good night. Peace.